You're listening to the Forest School Podcast. Delicious waffle chat about education, nature connection, child development, community building, and lots more. Hosted by Lewis Ames and Wem Sutherland.
Yo,
right. Now,
what?
we have to start on a slightly sad note today.
Oh, why?
Because
Who's died?
my ego. Some
Yeah.
motherfucker has dared to correct us. You know who you are. Matt, and renowned COVID expert. Derek. You know who you are. No, I'm joking. I made some stickers ages and ages ago for our supporters, and I was handing them out at the conference last year, and one of them was Captain of Crows, and then I had a picture of a bird behind it. It's a corvidy looking bird.
Yep.
It's a corvid. No, it's not.
I mean, yes.
It's not. And
here's why.
And here's why. I hope you enjoyed it. We've enjoyed it.
Hello, it's lovely to be here. I am the world-renowned COVID expert, and I have been asked to read a short poem which should aid in to clarify the identification and specification of the aforementioned COVIDs. How do you tell COVIDs apart? Do you gaze into their eyes? Do you plunge the depths of their heart, or their dreams and desires? Can you ask of them their name? That's absurd. They are a bird, but I tell you they're not all the same. These are some clues that I've heard. For the crow is a tall blackbird with a pointy beak. She has wings and claws and eyeballs and skinny, scaly feet. Now the jackdaw, he's different. He's a blackbird, but not as tall. Not like a blackbird. They're not the same at all. Rooks and ravens, they too are black, and they have feathers, and they can fly. You'll know if it's a raven, because you'll see it in the sky. Oh, for goodness, you're right. Okay, I get the joke here, and I think the idea is that we should be led to believe that these birds are all the blood for chuffing same. Chuff, I remember there's one. He's got a red beak. All these. I mean, what about magpies and jays? A jay's as colourful as they bloody come. It's absolute trousers. This. Anyway, I've been asked to read it, so I'll carry on. And after all that is said and done, you should know that while the family is corvus, the Latin word is just for crow. So I guess the idea there is you could call either of them a crow. But I mean, the thing is, a crow, it's a straight beak and it looks rather a mean-looking bird, whereas a raven's a massive, puffy, dock-off bird with a curved beak. Rooks have got a sort of white beak and a bouffant sort of hairdo, and a jackdaw's got a little flat cap, like a miniature grandad. Anyway, I hope that helps. Thank you.
So good. So good.
Trousers. Chuffing duck-off beak.
Chucking duck off beak. It might well be the bit of art that I need to make for this episode. Guy would wear a sticker that said chucking duck off beak. I can't even say it.
Oh my god.
So good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt. That made my day. When I first heard that, I was absolutely wetting my pants.
Yeah.
I was trying to set up for a session and I just had to stop and just wet my pants a bit.
Amazing. If you have not noticed a mistake that we have made, do send it as a song, because we're much more receptive to feedback in song form.
Spoken word, poetry, songs, Yeah.
Yeah, you can criticise. As we've talked about before, where you can slightly go, why have you left your shit everywhere? And it's the taxonomy version of that, which is that we've been told off in song form. Which I'm happy about it.
Absolutely.
I'm beside myself.
Yeah.
Thank you. But as outdoor leaders and educators, we often find ourselves entrusted with sensitive information about our students, their families, and our fellow staff. From emergency contact details to medical information, ensuring the confidentiality of this data is paramount. But in today's digital age, protecting this information extends beyond the physical realm and into the online world. That's where NordVPN comes in. NordVPN is a trusted name in online security, providing a virtual private network that encrypts your internet connection and shields your online activities from prying eyes. With NordVPN, you can browse the web, communicate with parents, and manage administrative tasks with peace of mind, knowing that your data is safe from hackers, snoopers, and other threats. But NordVPN isn't just about security. It also offers flexibility and convenience, allowing you to access geo-blocked content, connect to public Wi-Fi hotspots securely, and bypassing censorship restrictions. Whether you're researching lesson plans, communicating with colleagues, or simply unwinding with some online entertainment, NordVPN ensures that you can do so safely and privately. So, fellow outdoor enthusiasts, if you are ready to take your online security up to the next level, I urge you to sign up to NordVPN today by using the link in the show notes. You'll not only safeguard your sensitive data, but also support the continued exploration and enjoyment of the great outdoors through this podcast. Stay safe, stay secure, and let's keep the spirit of adventure alive, both in the forest and online.
What do you want to talk about today, then?
I want to talk about today. It's been rattling around in my brain. And I keep going, oh, please, can we just talk about it? I don't think it'll be the most in-depth thing.
The little, I don't know that. What's the word for the jingle? The little jingle for this would be Lewis's brain rambling ideas. Ding, ding. Like that.
Okay. That's the whole podcast.
Yeah.
That's the whole...
No, it's on my mind. This is yours.
Right, I see. This is just mine. I have observed that there is something of... now, I'm torn at the moment between whether it's a pulse or whether it's a drum beat to play types and to... There's going to be so many caveats on what I'm about to chat about. Sometimes it's play types, sometimes it's play containers. But let me give you the example.
Sure.
That is my most obvious example, and then we can go into the weeds of whatever it is. So, the example that I'm most like, yes, that's got a pulse, is like... stealth games, sneaking up and attacky type games. The container for that play can sometimes be castles, can sometimes be dragons, can be thieves, can be whatever it is. But when I say the pulse of the play, what I mean is, oh no, I'm going to do it visually, and that's not what I need to do.
No.
Like little pulses, like boom, 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 boom.
Like watching
and
one of those heart monitor
like
things.
a heart monitor, yeah. So it's boom, 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 and then I sneak up and I attack whatever the base is, and it goes boom, boom. And then it goes back to, and then I go, oh, because they kill me, because that's the game. And then I go, okay, reset. And we go back to boom, 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 boom. And there's a pulse, and I think it's like one of those things that is innate. I don't think you get it in terms of like, it's not 2 minutes, then a boom, then 2 minutes, then a boom. Do you know what I mean? It's not that. It is one of those things where you have to watch it to see how many boom, 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 booms you need to let the play have before you come in with a like boom boom. Okay,
I had two responses to that. One is, do you think it is in any way related to actually the pace of the people's heartbeats that are playing at the time?
Yes, I do. Yes.
And that there is you can feel the vibe of other people's heartbeats, and it is something about co-regulation there in terms of like we're all doing this thing together, and our hearts are actually beating at a similar kind of tempo. Like what more co-regulation could you get? Like that strong kind of feeling. And the other thing that's when you said you have to wait for a certain amount of beats before you do the attack that's going to spike their pulse. Do you know about that game Potato, where you just take it in turns saying potato, 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 until the moment feels right, somebody says bird's eye. And whoever manages to say bird's eye is the winner.
Right.
But you can feel the vibe. You can feel it.
It's not right.
They can. Too soon. It's from John and Ellis.
Yes.
That's where
I did remember, as you were describing it, I remember
yes.
it. Yes, I think answer your first point about actual heartbeats, I think there is something that's there, because I think there is also something that you can observe in group play, particularly big group play, which is like a type of, I'm going to call it like play arrhythmia, where one or two people's pulses, and I mean that not in the biological sense, I mean that in the sense of what we're talking about with this play, their play pulse isn't in sync with the rest of the group. Either they want dum dum bum dum dum bum, they want lots of like, that's the pulse that they're working on, and other people want dum 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 bum dum 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 dum, and then how the play container, how the play cycle resolves when there's that arrhythmia. Do they come together to meet somewhere in the middle? So, like, do they find a common pulse, or is it like, does the strongest pulse win? Or, and this is my other thought, is it one of those things where, you know, like you were saying about being taught to play in certain ways, that like some play is innate, but some play sometimes you need to see an older child doing it, or you need to have an adult model it with you. Whether there's something where like certain play types, you need to be taught what the pulse is, and that like that it's only through playing and experimenting with it that you learn that, oh, culturally this is the pulse of this thing. And I'm thinking about when we do these like attacking games, and then sometimes and I go, oh, I'm dead, and I reset. And then some people will follow me back. Some people can't. Some people, their pulse is like, so I will then take that opportunity to come back up to the main camp, and I might sit and have a rest and go, okay, right, I'm going to maybe do something else for 2 minutes, give you some time to get your bumps built up. But some people will follow you, and some people will go, no, I'm a spy and I have to be here the whole time. And so then there's this arrhythmia of like, my play pulse is dum 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 dum, and I'm in the small ones, but someone else is going, no, it's all big, and I cannot have a downtime. And reflecting on that and having a metaphor for it is sometimes helpful to go, why is this not gelling? Either why is this group not gelling in the play type, in the play container, or why am I not able to be, in air quotes, the best play worker for this person? It's because my play rhythm right now needs some lows, and this person needs fireworks.
Yes.
This needs.
I was just thinking that as you were saying that, and thinking about the play worker's role in observing that and seeing that arrhythmia, I like that metaphor, and deciding when it's time to literally observe and see what happens and see how those two rhythms either meet or regulate, or, you know, whether the slower, lower, weaker pulse of play comes up a bit to match that person who needs that stuff, or whether the other way around happens, or whether the play cycle completely changes, or whether one person ends up going in one direction, one in another, and also kind of judging the moment to step in and support, either to support the gelling to happen and the co-regulation to happen, or to go, okay, this person really needs something completely different to this play cycle that's happening in this pulse, so I will attempt to support that need for them right now with a kind of higher intervention model. I can see you really want a higher pulse of play. Let's you and I go and do this other thing, or, you know, I'm a spy too, or whatever. In terms of, but it's such a hard call that it's one of those things I think that only comes with time. Like if you were starting with your new
relationship building.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so individual, isn't it? Because if you have been with a group for a long time and you know the person who, for example, is like the outlier in the play pulse situation, you know them really well, and you know the group really well, and you know what you want for them for their next kind of steps, or for what direction they're going in, and you have an awareness of that person probably can manage, right? They're on the edge of managing a social discussion about, like, actually this was our game, and actually no, we're not going to do that, and they can take that, or whether that is going to be completely beyond their abilities at the moment and affect them. So that might be when you step in with a higher intervention sort of step. But there's no, it's such an instinctive, weird set. It's like it's a vibe, isn't it? It's a vibe for sensing those pulses. It's very animalistic.
So just to give another example, so we're not just talking about sneaking up games and stuff, I was thinking about another pulse of play types is like performance play type, getting ready for a play or a dance or a something, which like it's not bum 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 bang bum 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 bum. Sorry, that was really loud.
Poor listeners' ears.
I forgot we were recording into microphones. But you know, it's not small, big.
Yeah.
It's like a gradual crescendo as you get closer and you practice it more, and it becomes more real, and you get the pulse of that play is not a pulse as in like a section. It's like over time, the graph of the play pulse is and the pulse. I'm not sure what it's measuring. It's not measuring necessarily physical movement.
No, it's like emotional energy or something.
Yeah, or intensity, or I'm not quite sure what it is. And then I was thinking about like there are some that are the reverse, which might be a play pulse where you come in with a high energy, high intensity springboard, like a very interactive story. You might do a whoosh where you get people in and they're acting out a thing, and you do that. And then the play pulse after that is somebody wants to sit down and draw a character. So in that sense, it's gone big, and then it gradually comes down as a like, and that's regulating in a different way. It's regulating from a high down to a low, whereas I think the performance element was from a low to a high. And so there's all these pulses, and having it visually, this is not a great podcast, it's not a great medium for doing this, but hopefully I'm describing it in an okay way, like, can then help. I think it's one of those things where like, if you have this metaphor, then as you're working with other adults and other practitioners, you can use it as a shorthand to go, the pulse of this is not quite right, or the thing. And
go on.
So the last thing that I've got is I realised that I realised this last night was, and this is where it's slightly more musical than pulsy. I was thinking about, when we talk about like when you get something where like a whole group gets involved, and it's normally a like village building or something where there's lots of different roles. Like a performance might be, we're making costumes, we're doing the music, we're doing the thing. And I thought that inside that container there's lots of different pulses going on. Sometimes everyone's on the same pulse, and you have to have, for it to work, it's like we all have to be ready for the pulse to come now. Sometimes, and that's where I think we both see a lot of joy, is going, ooh, there's loads of pulses interacting here. And so this is the equivalent of, and I'm going to do it on my chest, so if you had one rhythm going in 2/4, bum, 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 so that's a pulse. And then another pulse going 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1. So you've got a 2 against 3, which doesn't sound like it would fit, but when you put them together, you get bat ba da da 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 bat. They sync up at the start of each bar. So this is very slightly musical, where that's what I think is happening when you have a play container with lots of different pulses in it. The people that need a pulse that's maybe quicker are getting involved in the performance and in the thing. The people that are like, I need a different pulse, are doing costumes. Or if it's like building a village, it's okay, we need a quick pulse, so we're going to be the guards. And we're going to, every time people come in and out, we're going to go, hey, stop, hey, what's the thing? Hey, we'll go patrol, we'll come back and go. And
we're foraging for pine cones to be money, yeah.
And there's some people staying at the, in air quotes, village, and they are on a different pulse. But all those pulses are syncing and overlapping.
Hi listeners, before we continue with the rest of today's episode, I wanted to take a moment to give a big shout out to our sponsor Skillshare. Skillshare is the ultimate platform for learning new skills and honing your craft, with thousands of online classes taught by experts in their various fields. Guess what? As a token of appreciation to our amazing listeners, Skillshare is offering an exclusive deal. Simply click on the link in the podcast show notes and you'll get a fantastic 30% discount on your Skillshare membership. That's right, 30%. So whether you're interested in photography, creative writing, or mastering new software, Skillshare has got you covered. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to enhance your skills and unleash your creativity. Thank you, Skillshare, for supporting our show and helping us provide valuable waffle chats to our listeners. Now let's get back to the rest of today's episode.
So it's still really co-regulatory, even though people are getting what they need. And I think that's a really lovely example and lovely metaphor, because that, again, is I see that definitely as part of our role, to be like, I'm aware, helping people to be aware of, they're doing that, but maybe we can still get our needs met at the same time as being co-regulated with these other people, which is just society in microcosm. So basically, you've just solved the problem.
I haven't solved it because there's still something.
You know what I mean? Though it's one of those things, isn't it, where you go, it's like it's a micro universe.
Well, also I think it's really useful because quite often I think when people think about activities or training, training or setting up sessions, you imagine everyone on the same pulse. Like, I will set this activity up, it has this whether you're not necessarily saying pulse, right? This is my metaphor that I'm putting on it now. But the more we can talk about setting up activities that have different pulse rates, the more you could go, okay, so inside this activity, what's high pulse, what's low pulse, and how do they come together? So could be painting. How do you get a group that's going looking for, one group's going to get the mud and smash it all up into things, and then there's people painting on the thing, and so you go, okay, so rather than going, everyone will go and get mud, and everyone will go, and then we'll all bring our pots back of mud, and then that's getting everyone
trying to force everybody's rhythms
onto the same thing, rather than going, okay, so who's got this pulse, where can we sit, how can we find those bits where they sync up? Yeah,
I really like that metaphor. What about, as you were talking, I was wondering about whether you can have a weak pulse, which is different to having a slower pulse. So say, you're a group of people and you're in that slow pulse play, but then, when sometimes you'll come across somebody and you're like, they're kind of interested in the play that's going on around them, but they're not quite engaging for whatever reason. And then our role is to support them with what they need there, whether it is helping them to engage or whether it is just being with them and accepting that they're in that observing stage and that's what they need right now. They just need... but trying to ascertain whether they do have a weak pulse that matches something they're watching or close to, but it's just not strong enough, and that maybe that we can help it to be stronger, or whether actually their pulse is completely different to what's going on around them. They don't want... Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I do know what you mean, and I think that possibly comes... I think the sense of weak and strong is an individual, like it's like a play interoception thing, where like, God, that's a big sentence, isn't it? But what I mean by that is some people, two people could be in the same play container, experiencing the same pulse, but experiencing that pulse very differently. What some people feel like, and that's why when you do, so to take the performance thing, as that pulse ramps up, some people were like, actually, my limit for pulse for intensity is halfway through this process, and now I can't do any more because now it's too much and I'm overloaded. Whereas some people can't feel any pulse at the start. They can't feel it till they're halfway through. And so they're like, oh, that's the bit I want to get to. I want to get to the performance bit. I want to get to the standing up in front of people. And so I think, yes, you can have a weaker pulse, a smaller pulse, but how that lands with the individual could be to do with how they are feeling. So
and it might be like, you have an idea for a game or a world or a thing. And I'm your friend, and your pulse for this is say it's medium tempo, but it's really strong because this idea has just hit you, and you're like, oh, I've got it. We're trolls, and the thing is the thing, and we're going to do this, and you are the thing, and you're kind of inviting me into that world, and I'm kind of getting it, but it's your world, and and I'm not quite in it yet, so my pulse might match yours in terms of like, I'm willing to be taken along, but it's weak at the moment because I haven't hit my stride, I haven't found my place in the game quite yet. I'm kind of going along with what you're doing, and I'm wanting to be with you, and I'm in that game, but my pulse is matching yours in terms of rhythm, but in terms of strength, I haven't quite hit my, like, I'm not in flow yet. I'm not in...
Yeah, sure.
It's kind of connecting my head with flow and being in that state where time's kind of disappeared, the rest of the world's disappeared, you're completely focused on what you're doing. And you'll definitely see that as you observe groups of people playing, that some people will be like, I'm kind of going along with this because I get on with you and you're my friend and I haven't really got anything else. I haven't had a play cue strike me like a thunderbolt right now, so I'll go along with you. But then seeing how people sometimes do get swept up in it and their pulse actually does become very strong or not, and it ebbs away and they decide to go and do something else because a different play cue has sort of sparked their attention in a different direction.
Yes, I'm wondering if there's use here for the term conducting or being a conductor in the sense of an orchestra thing, in that like the conductor at the start of a piece knows what they want to happen. They can hear, they've got the play cue, they know, and so what they're doing is inviting to the people, the other players, to go, let's go, I'm doing a visual thing. They go arms up and here we are, and some pieces of music you only watch the conductor for the first couple of beats, because once you have got it, you're in. You don't need the conductor necessarily anymore because you're into the piece of music. What you do need them for is to start the piece off. And so maybe that's the role of the person who can feel, a conductor can feel a tempo before they start. They're not putting their ear on a metronome and going, that's 120, off we go. Like, they're going...
And sometimes that's us, right? Sometimes that is...
So this is my other question, is like, is our role to, like, go with pulses? Is our role to, like... basically, I was trying to work out whether you can enforce a pulse on a group. And I think I know the answer.
You can't, but you can invite it. I think.
So what is happening then if you... Is it just masking then if you have someone who is enforcing a pulse? Who, like... And I'm thinking about... Our sessions are different because a lot of them are a lot longer. So we are more able to do that, like, ebb, flow, pulse here. Oh, okay, now the pulse is picking up over here kind of thing. But I'm thinking more of... Like, when we would have done school sessions... I think I would have been conducting very hard for the 90-minute session. I was really going marching band style. I'm up at the front with my baton. Here we go. Let's play this game. Off we go. Find a worm. Now we do the thing, and we go. And I'm in charge. And then I might go. And now reflection at the end, and your pulse comes down because I say it comes down, and. That's sometimes an interesting thing where you're trying to...
That's a very good metaphor, because we can feel it when it is like you're trying to force a pulse, either in one direction or the other, as you say. And,
up or down.
And you can fit, and those are the moments where you're like, oh my gosh, this is like pushing treacle up a hill. Like, this is not working. I'm trying everything. And sometimes it is because it is flipping hard, because you've got there might just be one of you and a large group of people with very differing needs and differing pulses that they enjoy being in right in this moment, and you can't, and they're not in a place where they can support each other with those things, and you are trying to be like, the comforting blanket to the person who's just got a wet sock, and then the marching
pulses.
Band conductor for the people who need that. Sometimes it is just impossible, and we have to cut ourselves some slack there. But at other times, I think it's quite handy in our reflections to go, why didn't that moment work when I was trying to hold that thing, and go, okay, I was trying to force that pulse. And sometimes we can feel it. Like, I said to you the other day, it was at the beginning of the day, and I'd had an idea for a game that I wanted to invite the group to play, and we'd just done second breakfast, having a bit of food and a bit of a chat, and the chat had finished, and I was like, the vibe or the pulse doesn't feel right now for the game that I had in my head. I'm gonna go with it anyway, but it
tentative.
felt really kind of like, I feel like I am enforcing a pulse. And what happened was, the luxury of our session is that some people are able to go, yeah, sure, I can go with that pulse, and I'll go, so 4 or 5 people did, and then 4 or 5 people went, no, I'm all right, thanks, and didn't do that, and could be with you or the other adults that are around, and that's a great luxury that we have, and I don't know how we would, how do you do it if you don't
just
have
to run
those...
it very differently. That's where I think you would be in a stronger conducting role.
Huge buzzard.
Huge buzzard.
A huge buzzard just sailed over, anyway.
I don't know. I think there's an idea still kicking around here. Maybe someone will hear this and will go, "Yeah, I get that." But here's a bit that you've missed out. Or here's a bit of the metaphor. So I would open this out now for people to take away and go, okay, go and observe the pulses in your sessions, and maybe also observing. I was thinking about observing the pulses in my house and how the pulse changes and that is sometimes one of the difficulties of, you know, like, my pulse is going, we need to go, we need to get ready, we need to go, and someone else is like, fuck the socks,
Swing time.
I don't give a shit about that. And my one's going like, let's get in the car, I don't give a shit about the fucking ideas. Look at this Lego I made.
And then someone is like, techno! Breakbeat. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks
Take
for
that
that.
one and run with it, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.
Oh, it's time to thank the people on the Patreon, 'cause they gave us money and they help us do the show. So thank you to Matthew and Karen and Catherine, Gareth and Rebecca, Rosie and Julie, Rachel, Candice, Claire, Heidi, Louise, Michael and Anna. Thank you for supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/The Forest School Podcast.